we'll monitor this level as we are approaching that. But let's talk about the manufacturing space in India. Rohit Ahuja, who's the head of research and outreach at ICRA, joins us now because he's released an interesting report on the impact that the PLI scheme can have on manufacturing GDP, as well as the kind of capex cycle that we can witness. Remember earlier we did have market experts talk about the capex cycle revival. Is that happening on the ground or not is the big question. Thank you so much for joining in, and that's exactly the first question. What have you made of the PLI scheme so far? What's the kind of investments that it can bring? But more importantly, what are the challenges?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think PLI scheme has been a resounding success for the government in terms of garnering interest. With the cumulative outlay of 3 trillion, government has been able to attract an overall capex outlook of more than 4 trillion across 14 sectors. Now, on the ground, we've seen a lot of activity happening, and one of the key factors here has been strategically designed to enhance manufacturing capability on very critical component sectors, something like electronic components, wherein if you're aware, recently a mega policy on semiconductors was announced, and it's already garnering a lot of media attention, and some corporates have evinced interest in that. But from overall implication on India, we see manufacturing as a key job creation opportunity for India, given manufacturing output as a percentage of GDP for India is well below someone like China, or we are at par with some European countries. But from a job creation perspective, it's very important. And as the world looks to diversify away from China, it is a very important opportunity for India. So on the ground, yes, we have seen a lot of interest coming in. We expect India's manufacturing capex to go up by 15 to 20% from next year, as most of these projects start seeing investment inflow. On the ground, we can see a potential of job creation of more than 3 million across the country.
There is also, Rohit, a bigger thrust that the government has on clean energy, right? There's a higher allocation for solar panel manufacturers, also for batteries, etc., in the new technology space. Which are the companies that could be big beneficiaries of this?
Solar, we have heard a lot of investments from most of the large corporates. Recently, we heard a lot from Reliance Industries. Adani Group has been leading investments there. But from a strategic point of view, we recently had also come up with a report on climate series where we had highlighted the potential for solar value chain. And the COP26 targets laid by the government for 2030 itself calls for a massive capacity addition of more than 40 to 50 gigawatts per year. And that means we're going to be at least 3 to 4x from the capacity additions that is happening this year. From that angle, if you look at it, the PLI scheme is a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot more expected there. So the opportunity is massive.
Okay. Rohit, have you done any math in terms of when they could contribute, the PLI scheme could contribute tangibly when it comes to exports, and how much of a contribution would it be? We did around $290 billion in terms of exports in FY21, over $300 billion in FY20. Give us a sense in terms of what you're expecting in terms of a contribution once the PLI scheme starts getting executed, and by when?
So it has an implication on the net imports. So the product segments that they're targeting on an overall basis constitute about 40% of imports for India. Now, the revenue generation on a cumulative basis for the scheme period, we expect close to around 40 trillion. Now, exactly, the implication on net imports will also depend on how the economic scenario pans out for the next 4 to 5 years and how the demand environment for specific product pans out. But if you see, semiconductors is a major allocation. Solar PV is a major allocation there. These two combine, as India's demand surges there, it helps in at least containing some of the imports that could have surged 5 years down the line from these sectors. But from a capex point of view, if you see, based on what we have seen right now, overall commitment of 4 trillion per annum, if you assume the scheme is spread over 5 years, around 0.8 trillion per annum from these schemes is on the ground investments that you would see from this year. So that's itself that's why we came up with the number of 15 to 20% expansion in manufacturing capex that we could see from this year.
Okay, what more are you expecting in terms of the PLI? And the reason I ask is, you know, if you look at the pharmaceutical space, there is a requirement that, yes, there was a lot of focus on ANDAs as well as on APIs and KSMs, but there was not much focus in terms of encouraging innovation or encouraging R&D. So maybe there should be something which is focused towards that space. So are you expecting any additional PLI schemes, any changes within current PLI schemes at all?
I think the government has evolved the PLI scheme very well over the last few years. And I think we could see that, very difficult to say right now. But wherever we've seen that additional allocation was needed, the government has been proactive in providing that. So maybe in pharma, we could see some more additions there. But allocations, if you see across sectors, they've been very strategically designed and have been upgraded as and when it's needed. So solar PV, again, is a classic example of that.
Rohit, thanks a lot for stopping by, giving us your views on the PLI scheme. This is an interesting one as it develops, so obviously we will keep coming back to you through the course of the next few months, years, and every time we discuss manufacturing and the PLI scheme. But that, we'll step into a short break. On the other side, we get Manisha Gupta to discuss all things commodities.